Hi and welcome. Crystelle here from Launchy.io. Now we have our next guest for our industry expert interviews, Talila Kroy with us from Emple. Now they're a very special business and we've actually worked with a number of clients over the years that have been the same clients and we've been working separately, and then we've recently joined forces to realise that we're actually helping clients do the same thing but from a different angle. So I'm really excited to have Talila with us today. Now, what does Emple do? They focus on freeing the founders to realize their vision. They do that by creating growth engines that attract and convert ideal clients without the founders having to be involved. Now, having both the revenue to grow and then the time to focus on their genius. I know it sounds pretty crazy, but welcome to Talila. So excited to have you with us.
Thank you so much, Crystelle. I'm really excited about this conversation. And as you say, we're two parts of the one solution that clients need. And that's why we have been working, I think, in tandem on the same clients at the same time over the years.
Absolutely. Before we dig into what is absolute gold around sales and partnerships and business growth and scaling, and really, like, for those people out there that are founders of whether it be a startup or a large multi-million-dollar business, you are in the right place looking at the right interview today. I would love to find a little bit about you personally and how you got to where you are today. How about we start with who has inspired you most on your journey? So it might be professionally or personally, and how's that kind of come about?
Okay, that's a really good question. I'd say that the inspiration for what we do now stems from a range of personal experiences, but in terms of an external influence, quite a few years ago, I read The E-Myth by Michael Gerber, and that was transformative for me. If anyone hasn't read it and they're in business, they should rush out and get a copy right now and read it from end to end, because his whole approach is about systemizing business and making success consistent. By identifying what causes success, all the points that cause success, you can bottle it, repeat it, and turn it into an engine. He has some amazing stories, like this hotel that he stayed at, where the hotel was such an incredible experience. He got the right chocolates and the right coffee, and they remembered his name, and everything was perfect. He was so impressed. He had to see the manager. And when he went in there, the manager was like a 24-year-old kid whose last job was McDonald's. He talked to this manager and it was like, how are you doing this? The manager pulled out a ring binder, every single little system and structure that they use to create an incredible experience for their clients. The systems don't depersonalize us, they personalize us and enable us to deliver incredible quality.
I actually had the pleasure of seeing him live a couple of years ago, and he's quite a character and he wears his hat and suit, and really amazing stories. And like you say, systemizing is key, and that's why we're here today, really, isn't it? Like, you guys doing it from the vision, the people on that side, and we're doing the system side. It just works beautifully together. And any other inspirations you would share with us?
Two more, if I can squeeze two in.
Absolutely.
One was our very first business coach, Andrew Roberts, and he really taught us to understand that the core of the essence of business structure needs to come from that intersection between what you do incredibly well, what the client really needs, understanding the client, like having a PhD in your client, and thirdly, understanding what the market doesn't offer. Because within there, no matter how competitive your industry, there's always a gap. There's always your layers of intangible value, your competitive edge. And sometimes it's huge. And once you can tap that and communicate it, clients just flock to you. And he also taught us the power of partnerships. He's built so many businesses from the ground up to multi-million-dollar businesses from partnerships alone. And that's why we've actually put his partnership marketing system into what we do as well. Now, from a personal side, I've recently been reading Job Dispenza's book, Becoming Supernatural. And I know that might be a little controversial. I don't know how people feel, but he's bringing together the separate areas of spirituality or mysticism with science. And yes, he is probably a little controversial, but there's so much truth and power to what he's saying and so much evidence that he's gathering about the power of things like vision, bringing vision into reality. And as founders, that's what we all do. We start with a concept, and despite whatever's going on in the world, and often at incredible odds, we have to bring that concept into reality. And I think he provides an incredible toolkit for every founder to do that.
Not everyone goes down that spiritual path when they're thinking about business, but there is 100% an alignment there. Whether you actually take on what they're saying personally, or you can see how it's working and the process behind it, is a very powerful thing.
Very much. And our minds are more powerful than we realize, and science is starting to realize this. Everything that exists in the world starts as an idea and starts as a passion or emotion. And for us to be able to harness that, it can change our game. It's very attractive of people, attractive of opportunities. And I think that there is science behind it, and this book helps to explain what that is.
And I think the challenge that you can give to yourself is to think differently for a moment. Like, just because something's a little bit different to how you've known it to be doesn't mean that it isn't right, or that it won't give you a different perspective as well.
I always think you can read something of someone's, and even if you take one thing out of everything that they've given you, sometimes that one thing is a game changer, sometimes it's gold. Yeah. So keeping openness to new stuff is important in business.
That's another reason why I absolutely love doing these interviews, because we work with some key industries that we kind of niche down into, as do a lot of businesses. We can learn lessons from other industries and bring them into our own industry.
That's one of the benefits both you and I get, which is we get to work with businesses in different B2B niches and carry across brilliant ideas that worked in one to another. And it's often like transformative for a new business.
Yeah, so. Absolutely. And I don't know the exact percentage, but we all know most percentages are made up on the spot anyway. Our businesses only grow as much as we do. And so by engaging in the reading about whether it be spirituality, business, watching interviews of other people from other industries, and from what we're going to learn from you today around sales and partnership and founders actually being able to remove themselves from their business, it is something that every founder should know. And if they don't, and at the end of the interview, we'll give everyone an opportunity to reach out and chat about it as well. But I'm super excited to get in amongst all of that. And I think what you just shared in your inspirations, it just goes to show, I know you are very busy, like you're a busy lady to get a hold of, but you obviously make time for this kind of stuff and educating and growing yourself, which is very cool.
Yes, it's essential. It was a podcast, I think it was Lewis Howes, that I discovered Job Displacement on. So those sorts of insights are transformative, and bringing it back to the practicality of business, it really does start with the business and turning the business into a system, and even creating a new, like breaking out of habitual thinking and learning new ways. That's the very essence of this whole thing and the conversation we're going to have.
Yes. Absolutely. And that just dovetails perfectly into what I would really love to dig into next. I know that you guys attract and work with a lot of purpose-led businesses. If you had to pick like the most common thing that often holds businesses back from really getting that profitable growth, and for a founder to be able to not necessarily exit, but be able to remove themselves from the day-to-day more, what would that be?
It all starts from how businesses are formed. Generally speaking, many businesses are started by passionate founders who are experts in their field, who want to create some kind of change in the world or bring some kind of value that they see as lacking. It doesn't mean they're experts in sales, marketing, management, systems, leadership, or admin, hiring. There's lots of other things that they need to be able to do. And if they do it in the wrong order, they can run out of time, run out of money, or fail. So it's really about understanding that they lack a certain skill set, many of them do, that will translate into success in these other areas, and being able to surround themselves quickly with the right people and the right solutions that only cost as much as they need to cost, and that give them the results and freedom that those different engines in their business are operating correctly. That's what I believe it is.
And so do you feel like it's actually then it's the founders that are overcomplicating all of the sales and the partnership and all of the processes, and I've probably been a little bit guilty of this, kind of getting in the way of the company growing and the team taking the reins, and like how does that all fit into the picture?
So if you're talking about what founders do in sales specifically, what founders tend to do in sales is very few founders have a sales background, and I think that's actually positive in a lot of ways because they speak from the heart. They face each client with all of their years of expertise. They can tell a million stories, they can share real statistics, they have solutions on the spot. So they're giving the clients all these light bulb moments, all these incredible insights, and that's how they sell. Because clients go, oh, this person knows what they're talking about. They're not a salesperson, they are an expert. And that's fantastic, but also traps those founders because that means no one else can sell like them.
Oh, it's big. That's a big one.
Yeah.
I know if you're in an event in the back of the room, you'd be like, Nugget.
Yeah.
That's a massive one because you can't go on a business trip, for instance, because you have to be there to do the
You
job.
have to be there. Yeah. And that means there's so many costs to that. One is exhaustion. Like of all the things that founders want to do, there are not a lot that I've met that actually want to be doing all the sales. They do it because they have to, because they're the only ones that can express their value. And all the things that they should be doing, like strategy and partnerships and lots of other really important things, get left by the wayside because they just don't have time in the day. They're too busy. It's all the hats. Like I said, all the engines, all the hats.
Yep.
So they need to systemize every engine in their business. And one of those, the primary one, because it's where all the money comes in, is sales, acquisition and sales. And a lot of them don't even believe that it can be done, but it absolutely can be done. And they can continue to give the client a very similar experience to what they're giving them right now and replace themselves.
That's really interesting how you describe that. And because as a business, we do a very similar thing, but we're doing it from the machine or the technology standpoint. But where you guys are working, you're working with the people and the process, which is really a very powerful thing because we have a saying that you are actually bringing to life as well, which is humanize the front end, automate the back end.
But even though you humanize the front end, it doesn't mean that the front end runs without guardrails. Yeah. The front end can be completely, think of it like a recipe. Like you can see yourself as the founder, as a master chef. You go in the kitchen, you know what to cook. You've done it a million times. You're just going to grab everything and you don't even have to think about it. And there's your beautiful cake. Now you bring on someone else. They're still human and they're going to do it. But if they don't know what ingredients to put in and how to do it, they could create a mess instead of a cake. That recipe doesn't crush their individuality, but rather it sets them free to do the core parts correctly. And then they can really connect and put the icing on and put the person's name on and give it that human flair. But they know that the core of the cake is correct.
Yeah, it's so powerful because I think there's only so much that I like that saying guardrails, and I often hear that term guardrails when I'm talking to people in the AI space these days as well, because wherever it is, if it's about any process really, and that's what AI is, that's what a process within a business or within a technology stack is. And you need your guardrails, which is either like a recipe or a playbook, or literally these are the rules and you stick with them, or the talk track, or there's so many areas where guardrails really defines it very well.
Yes. And those guardrails are a system. Those guardrails are a system that empower rather than detract from the human element. And as you say, systemize the back end and automate the front. There are also a lot of elements of sales that people are doing that they shouldn't be doing. They should be focusing on, even if you think of a letter to a client, a lot of times in a certain stage, 2/3 of that letter or email should be the same. And it's just a certain few elements that should be humanized. Not reinventing the wheel every 5 minutes, which is what founders try to do. I see founders pour so much energy into every individual case. They'll rewrite a proposal. They'll spend hours and hours on it because they don't have the system and the structure and the guardrails to just get it done quickly and efficiently.
Yeah, gosh, I just got little chills then. I'm like, oh gosh, that's a bit close to home. And we have systems and we're very automated with what we do. We try and walk our talk in terms of automation. But I think that's another key point in that when you're like, we've been around for 12 years, in July, and we're continually optimizing what we do. But sometimes I actually do need to step away and not be the person doing it, because you have amazing team, and we've got to remember we've got our team there because they're really good at what they do. And it's easy as a founder to forget that and do exactly like what you're talking about and spend hours doing things that we really shouldn't be doing.
Yes, and I do it too. Like, it's in every area of business, we need to step back. But the trick is to have the faith and the confidence. And that's where the systems and the structures and the people who run them give us that. And when you know that's okay, you can let go. And that's that. There's always a moment where we see that for the founder, and you can see it in the videos where they say, "Oh, I was able to go on holiday for 6 weeks and nothing fell apart," and it's so amazing. But that is created by seeing the success in front of them, seeing that someone else can do what they do, and that's really critical.
Oh, that's amazing. And so I'm so tempted to ask you, tell us everything of how you do it, but we won't do that because that would be giving away your entire business. But I'm sure everyone listening is thinking, oh my God, how do you do that? But you know what? We won't give away all your secrets yet. But you know what I would really love to hear a little bit about, because I know not a lot of companies focus on helping other businesses in the partnership area as well. And I know sales is a massive one for you, but partnerships also is, and you have a really solid structure around that. Are you seeing any particular trends or anything for sales or partnerships in 2025 where businesses are really either being affected badly or it's actually like really positive trends that are happening in that space?
Both. I think it's a time of really great change. We've seen so many developments in marketing and so much clever stuff has happened. But what always happens in these cases is there's a big spike where something's very successful, and then it becomes the norm and everyone's catching on, and the market just becomes more and more crowded with noise and lead magnets and generators and funnels and all of that stuff. So what we've seen is people have been able to create all these incredible marketing breakthroughs, a clever way to do an EDM, a wonderful way to do a funnel, all of these different courses and offers and so forth. But over time, the market's become more and more crowded with these sorts of marketing tactics, and what was fresh and new and brilliant soon becomes what everyone's doing. And it becomes like, oh my gosh, there's so much in my inbox. There's so many people hassling me on LinkedIn. It's just noise, and people have become numb. And now there's an AI layer to that. We're all getting AI emails and messages and videos, and that's just creating even more distrust or fear or uncertainty as to what to pursue. And the good thing about partnerships is it goes back to the very essence of how we as humans operate, which is we trust certain people and we exist in a trusted community, and it's all about humans, right? Who you trust and the relationship between you and the values that you hold dear. And going back to partnerships, particularly for some businesses that are B2B, that are niche, that are service-based, it's like the quickest route to your ideal client. And we've grown on partnerships. We've grown from strength to strength on partnerships. Well over 60% of our clients come to us through partners. And then we started to build partner suitcases one-on-one for our clients inside of their sales suitcase. And now we've got a sales suitcase group going through. There's 9 of them, and it's amazing to see them creating partnerships in real time, including with and for each other, and getting referrals, and all of them gaining business rapidly. And it's not just even about getting a lot of clients. It's about the joy that comes with not being alone and being surrounded by an ecosystem of support. And so partner suitcase is our passion at the moment. I love it.
Okay. And so when you talk about sales suitcase and partner suitcase, you're talking about like a group program, are you, where you're dissecting all of this information from the founders? Is that how it works?
Yes, right now, like for the first time, we have it working as a group, and it's super powerful because the thing about sales engines is everyone is very, like every business is different and it has to be built for that business. But when it comes to a partner process, it's very similar. Every B2B business or professional service business needs to follow the same pattern, which is being very clear on their strategy and outcomes, what they have to offer to partners, what partners do they need, what are the financial metrics and goals that they need, what are the layers of value that they can provide in a partnership. Starting with strategy and then having a process to acquire partners, check that they're the right fit, activate them to action and equip them to be good at bringing them the right work and opportunities, and completely systemized. So we've been going through that process. And as I said, we've also added in Andrew Roberts' system, which is marketing partnerships, So using partner databases and audiences to market other partners, which is incredibly powerful. So
Yeah.
there's two types of partnerships also, Crystelle. There's what we call the embedded or evergreen partnership, which is we actually embed ourselves. There's a certain point where a specific partner will find that the client's got an issue, for example, with their sales process. When that happens, they ask a few questions, they identify they need Emple, and they just bring us in. That's an embedded partnership and a systemize. And the second thing is marketing partnerships. And they can be done in the same partnership, but they're a different approach where you could run a webinar together, you could do a campaign, an event, and that could bring in a lot of attention, a lot of the right clients very rapidly.
Yeah, very cool. And Andrew is the one you're saying is one of your inspirations in your business coach. Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, nice. I like that you've brought his system into play as well. And I've worked with some people in the past that have taught people how to do joint ventures, which is just another name for partnership, really.
You can call it a lot of things.
But what I think makes you guys different is the structure and process you put around it. That has been missing from any businesses that I've worked with in the past that have taught very effective ways to potentially recruit and create a relationship with a joint venture, but then that's it.
Yes.
So that visibility you talk about, what stats are there? And I think I actually was approached this week by someone who must have gone through one of your programs because
Oh,
I could see they had structure and I was like, oh, that's cool. Okay, that's great. And I had a meeting with her and she approached me on LinkedIn and I thought, oh, you know what? This is the first experience I've had since we've been getting to know each other's business for a little while now. The first person to reach out with that kind of structure, which it was like a no-brainer. I'm like, oh, of course, it just seems like it would be easy to understand, very complimentary. Because that's the thing is, I think and I hope a lot of people don't think like this anymore, but there's probably some out there that think about competition rather than partnership. And
yes.
there is so much opportunity out there. We don't need to think about like competition's not a thing. There's so much complementary service out there. And even if you're in a similar but a little bit different space, as long as the client is front of mind and the intention is to help our clients, you can't lose. And I think that system you talk about is just really powerful.
You've just hit the nail on the head. A lot of the issues that arise with partner, well, there are a number of issues. One of them is people don't know how to reach out to a partner. They don't have a structure. They don't know how to activate a partnership. As you say, it's all talk and then nothing happens. It's like a waste of time and people give up on partnerships. And another one is when people create partnerships without clarity on their vision and then the client is not at the center because everything is about the client. The best referrals that you'll ever get is from someone who's seen their client needs a system and is coming to you to fix that problem. And they want to put them into trusted hands and fix that problem. And I have the same thing. If a client needs a lawyer, if they need automation, whatever they need, I need to have a solution for them. And that's the heart of good partnerships, knowing what my client needs and strategically going out and setting that ecosystem around me.
Yeah. Yeah, it's so powerful. And I think we've grown on partnerships as well. And I know that as soon as we cross paths with our joint client, it was like, oh, and we've got all these other clients we've been working together on as well.
Yeah, that we didn't realize.
Yeah, and they actually came through referrals and partnerships. And as much as that's not our only channel, it would be our strongest by far. Like
Yeah.
100%. It's how you can attract warm prospects into your business, but also more often than not, aligned people and aligned businesses because people buy people in the end.
They absolutely do.
Yeah,
And
that
if you
referral's for that, for sure.
exactly knowing our clients and making sure that we're working with partners who have the same clients and the same value just eliminates hundreds of hours of trying to sift through and find the right people. And in terms of leads conversion, marketing is considered good, I suppose, if 1 in 4 leads convert. With partnerships, it's more like 2 in 3, at least.
Yeah, and that's, you know what, that goes to say you have to find the right partnerships because those numbers are going to be much, much stronger. Cold lead gen, when I say cold, I don't like Facebook pay per click or Google pay per click or those kind of things. We find that we use those tools to support other activity that we're doing. There's such an education, and this is part of what these amazing interviews teach me, and hopefully everyone else, is that we need to have all cylinders firing because there's so much education that's needed. And we have some interviews where we talk about membership sites, local bricks and mortar, visibility, and online social media side of things. And AI, you touched on that a little bit before as well. And people are so unsure of it because there's more education that's needed to understand it. And I think there's this saying that I've said a few times over the last few months when people say to me, AI is stealing jobs. I'm like, no, you're getting that wrong. I'm going to challenge your perspective on that. What is happening is people with AI skills are taking jobs of people that don't have
That is true. That is right.
Yeah, and it's
Right.
I know that's a bit of a scary concept for some people, but there are still processes and systems and people and all of that in play with the guardrails around it all. But the really important thing is to get in amongst it and play and learn. And yeah, yeah.
But what you're saying is spot on about the AI. And it's really fun because in our partner suitcase, all of the businesses are like, it's a well curated group of really high quality businesses. They're bringing all these ideas and saying, did you know you could do this with AI? So actually automating parts of the partner suitcase preparation and showing us how it's done. I'm like, oh, this is so fun.
Oh, wow.
But you're right. We need to know a lot of things. I don't discount marketing at all because I think that one of the powers of having a good marketing engine is being able to offer it to your partners
Yeah,
and
that's
doing things in partnership. So if you've got a strong database and a good Facebook presence or even a good Google Ads system, you can augment that by doing it in partnership. And there's
absolutely
a
your
lot you can
value.
do.
Yeah, like your value that you bring to a partner, if you've got solid, it's a business coach once, many times probably, and you've probably heard this from your business coaches as well. Marketing has to be like a table. At a bare minimum, you need four legs.
Yes.
And ideally, six would be better because if two of them fall over, you've still got a table.
One of the things when we do a sales engine, when we're looking at the business sales engine, we do a business growth assessment. We're always looking at, do they have control of their lead sources? Because if they don't, there's an inherent risk in that business. And hiring a salesperson with the hope that the salesperson will magically do a pile of outbound that they've never tried before and fix the gap is a very risky strategy.
Yeah, absolutely. I love
Now
what
I've started.
I really love about what you were just saying a minute ago. You do was it called a business health assessment?
Yes.
Yeah, that's really great. We do a very similar thing and we call it an engine room analysis.
Yes.
And so going from two different perspectives, gosh, the power behind getting both of those done would be phenomenal. Really, we basically lift the hood and look at the health of their technology, their database, their sender reputation, and then strategically how they've got their business funnels, their sales pipeline, all of that automation. They're using SMS, email, have they got digital wallets? So we're looking at all of that and then feeding that back to them. And then I can imagine you guys come in and do what would that look like, the business health assessment?
Yeah, no, exactly. And what you're saying is something I plan to refer to a lot of people because, and before I tell you about ours, we often see in sales, there are a bunch of pitfalls that people go through. For example, the experience between marketing and sales is not seamless, or the experience with the person that they've bought from and then handover or delivery is not seamless. All of those affect our confidence and our joy or experience of the solution. And I need those fixed for my clients, and now I know where to send them.
Yeah.
I'm starting with that assessment. In terms of what we do in the growth engine assessment, we focus on 4 areas. One of them is prospects, so we need to look at their lead sources. If they haven't got that, they can't really reverse engineer their growth successfully. Because to reverse engineer your targets, you need to go, I need to make X or grow by X. And for that, I need this many clients averaging this amount of income over this amount of time. And you need to see all the conversion stages from lead through to conversion of ongoing work or retainer.
Nice.
So that's really the prospects area.
Yeah.
And then we look at their process. What do they have in terms of a client acquisition process? Do they have a model that makes it very easy for a client to come on board and very seamless, and it's very clear to the client why they should act, where the value is and what they're going to get out of it? And is it very easy for the client to take the first step, like your assessment, and see the gap and see the methodology they're going to use? Is it very easy for the client to go through the process? Are the results going to be guaranteed? And what's the next step? Do they have a process like that in their business? And to what extent? And we often find it's a business building site in there, bits everywhere, kind of some things are working and some are not. They've got all the parts, but it's like the windows over here and the doors over there, and they haven't connected everything to make like a proper structure out of it.
Yeah, wow. Okay.
And then we also look at the people who's selling in the business. Is that business suffering from key person dependency in terms of you take out one person, the whole thing falls apart? Or do they have the capability to train anyone, essentially? And who is selling, and are they the right people in the right role? And finally, we look at performance. So the more your business grows, the more you need a structure to manage performance. And we are data-driven people. So that is a data-driven leadership system. And particularly when you get to 3, 4, 5 people making sales, even if they're not salespeople, like they could be delivery people, but they're client-facing and making sales, they need a rhythm and a structure to run to, and metrics, so that everything can be, and leadership, so that everything can run well. So
Yeah,
that's
wow. Yeah, gosh, that dovetails so perfectly into what we do. And the really great thing is there's even some of the parts, particularly in the first couple of steps, we would actually be looking at the same thing from a different perspective, and then you're then taking it those next few steps beyond it, which is just so great. I love that. I can't wait to actually include that in what we're doing. Like, that's a really, such a value add for our clients. And as much as we don't, like, we're business automation, but there's so much strategy that has to come into that to make the business automation reflect and almost take what happens offline to online, really, is what we're trying to help them do. And that CX, or the customer experience, is the end game we want.
You're exactly right. And why you actually have to have a lot of business knowledge, a lot of commercial understanding to do what you do. Because it's absolutely not about the client just saying, I need this done here and fix this and move that. It goes back to having the architecture of a house, like the plans of a house, and why do we need this room to face the sun, and why do we need this? And once we understand the why and it's built into our plan, which is what you do, you orchestrate it to work. And that takes intelligence and capability, and exactly the same with sales systems.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. And really, when it comes to a structure or a foundation of what you do, you're attracting clients, converting them, and expanding them is what the 3 areas that I understand Emple really focuses on. And that actually is the same model that we build at a base level for our clients, but it's just a little bit different. But that is the basis of it. And that's for any business. You're 100% right. Like, you can't go into these kind of processes without having some structure. And I like the word guardrails that you used earlier around it all, because that's really, it's money in the bank is what makes a business.
Exactly. And it's focusing on the right things. Very early on, one of our very first clients was this amazing young lawyer who'd won a million awards. And she created a business called Separate Together. It was a groundbreaking business that helped families to break up without destroying themselves in the process. Basically, looking after each other financially and emotionally, and making sure the kids are well set up by doing it in tandem, where there was enough joint purpose to do that rather than going on combative legal sides. And she had 3 layers of what she offered. And she came to me and wanted to escalate the one that involved the least human connection, the one that was only online. But when we dug into that, that one actually caused her the most issues and was the least fruitful for all parties, because there was a layer of knowledge and capability that she brought that made everything easy. So we refocused her, and she was able to grow from that startup scale to, I think, 4x within a year. So it was, sometimes it's about what you're focusing on, and it comes back to the strategy and the architecture of what you're trying to achieve.
Wow. Okay, very powerful. And because, you know what, I think as founders, we can get stuck in a, well, like you were saying at the start actually as well, we can jump and change and spend time on the wrong things very quickly,
Yes.
or we can actually think that we've got it right
Mm,
and just keep basically hitting our head against the wall, not realizing, because you're in it.
yes.
You're in it, and it's, you know what, that's what we want to be doing. And to actually have someone like you to shine the light on what could be more fruitful for her, for the business, for clients, very powerful stuff.
Exactly. And another recent assessment that was similar was we had a professional services firm that again wanted us to grow a certain side of their business. They said this side of our business doesn't have enough focus and it has a lot of potential. It fits this hole. Help us to build a sales engine around that. Said, let's step back and look at everything. What we saw was that they had a vast number of inquiries coming in that were actually not being converted, that would have generated a lot of work for them. And it was like the very first lever. And we worked from them for a period of 4 months or 5 months. And we're still working with them, but we worked with them and rebuilt that piece. And it went from a conversion of 16 in 100 to something like 40 or 50 in 100, or 42 maybe. And there are several conversion steps, so they converted all the way along faster. And they suddenly realized they were making 100,000 more a month without having to expand that other side of the business. They actually grew so much that they were able to close their doors to any clients they didn't want. And they were able to really pick the ideal work for them.
Oh, wow.
That's again, you need to take a step back and assess what's going on before you dive in and start fixing. Goes back to the plan of the house and where is the structure? What do you really need to do?
Oh my gosh. Like I can almost hear the kind of, gosh, I can't think of the word, like the pennies dropping. It's just such a massive thing. I think that, we just get stuck in the day to day and think we need to do more to
Yeah.
make more as well. And it's not necessarily that. It's, are we focusing on the right things? Are the right people in the right positions? And rather than the founder trying to just do absolutely everything to make it all work, or
Founders' main goal has to be to get themselves out of absolutely every single thing except their area of genius. And I know that a lot of times founders realize they can do this for marketing, so they are happy to spend on marketing. They don't believe they can do it for sales. They might have tried and they hired a salesperson, or they got another person and the person just couldn't do it. And they have come to a false conclusion that nobody else can do it and they're trapped in this, they have to do this. Or another thing they do, they look through the marketplace for that one unicorn that they're going to spend 3 times as much for that they need to, because that one person will now be the person they hang all their hopes on, which just creates another key person dependency.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And we've had a few different salespeople come through our own business. And in the end, it ends up coming back to my business partner, who is always, his role is sales. But we've had a couple of supporting people and they come and go. And like I said, I think a lot of this conversation is quite close to home. So I'm learning a lot. And they were amazing people and very smart people. But who knows? I actually don't know why they didn't actually work out. So it's interesting to have these thoughts come up in the process. So maybe we'll have to dig into that.
I think the main reason why is because they didn't have, it wasn't an easy way to download into their brains everything they needed to know about you guys and your clients and your market. And the thing is, you remember The Matrix, one of my favorite movies, where she's on this rooftop and someone says, do you know how to fly a helicopter? And she's, hold on a minute. And she downloads the whole thing. And she's like, now I do. And she jumps in the helicopter. The point is, we don't have a system for transfer of the mind. And that's what Emple creates. Essentially, not only do we create a system, a process that mirrors what's the very best of what the founder does, along with best practice, but we put it all into a training resource so that anyone can start quickly. And what from that is that instead of hiring someone and seeing them flounder around for 6 months, and maybe they make it, maybe they don't. Talking of statistics, 48% do. I know that one isn't made up, right? And that means that half the time you've just invested 50 to 100 grand for nothing and probably burned 10 times that in leads and opportunities, not to mention all the effort that you put into that person over that time.
Yeah,
so
wow.
Instead of that, they spend 3 to 4 weeks, they can already do part of your role. Another 3 to 4 weeks, they can probably do the whole thing. And we had a client that I know we had in common where we hired for them in the heart of COVID. That person would have usually learned on site at their showrooms. She had to learn from home using our playbook system. She made her first sale, like the first part of that sale, within 4 to 5 weeks, which is unheard of in their industry, and without anyone helping her, without being on site. So
Yeah.
that's the power of the mind transfer thing.
Wow, I love that mind transfer. Very, very good. And it really is that, isn't it? Because, and I'm sure there's some other founders out there that can relate. I've spent quite a bit of time handing over the authority and removing myself from the client day to day work. I'm still involved because I help the team strategically and that side, but we've done that quite well. It's hard to hand over the passion that you have for something. It's hard to hand over the lessons that you've learnt. All of that that's in here. And
It's in
that's,
there.
yeah, that's very
That's
much
right.
it's the matrix, isn't it?
It's the matrix. We literally squeeze that stuff out of the founder. That's what we do. We have a system and a structure to get it all out. And one of the things that happens across the team is this team bonding experience, because the team starts to realize, like, they've been working in that business, they didn't realize how amazing the business was half the time. They hear all these stories, they understand all these things, they see all these layers of value. It changes the team dynamic. But as well as that, it's like the very essence of the IP coming out into a structure and a system that everyone can use. The problem, and the reason why buyers walk away sometimes, is because the most frustrating thing in the world is when you know you've got a client you can help. They're the perfect client for you. You have the conversation with them and they don't get it and they walk off and you weren't able to fix that problem. And you know that they were what you needed. This is probably the most frustrating thing in the world. That comes from a failure to communicate value. Now, by expressing, pulling out of the founder everything they know about the clients, everything they know about their offering, all the layers of value, and everything they know about the marketplace and industry, we can create a really beautiful expression of that value so that no client walks away that's the right fit for you. They never walk away without understanding your value. It doesn't matter if they speak to you or anyone else in your business who's using that structure. And that's freedom. And that's owning your IP.
Oh my gosh, you've just summed that up so beautifully. I almost want to go like mic drop. But what I'm going to ask you one more question, because I don't think there's actually anything else that we should share unless they want to come and talk to us and talk to you in particular about their business from that point, because the power behind what you just talked about is so massive for any size business. And as you're talking, I'm thinking of all our clients that I need to be introducing to you. And I'm sure people listening and watching now are thinking about, holy crap, I need to understand this and how they can possibly even do that in their own business. Like, it's just so powerful. So I'm going to ask you one more question and then we'll do the mic drop. Now, so what I'd love to hear from, based on everything that you've been sharing with us and what you do, I'm sure, I know you're doing it for your own business as well as for your clients' businesses. You know, what excites you most about what you can see ahead when it comes to whether it be online, offline, business trends, what you're learning and about to do in your own business? What's the future for you got in store?
I believe that there are a few things, right? I think that we're in a time of very great turbulent change. And whenever that happens in history, and I don't think it's ever happened to the extent it's happening now, everything changes. Like, big businesses go down, little businesses go up, all sorts of things happen. The landscape shifts beneath us. And you're seeing like the incredible power of AI as being just like, we haven't even got a handle on how big that is yet.
Oh, massive.
And I think, though, that it comes back to the power of humans and the power of humans to do something with their minds, which comes back to what I said about Joe Dispenza, which is to set our vision and to actually create. And we're starting to learn and understand that there's an incredible power behind that. We don't have to be tossed by the fates of circumstance. We can actually take the reins and direct our vision to systemize, strategize, and create impact. And that's what excites me the most, because I think this is it's like consciousness is emerging in a certain way. And that's what I think is exciting.
Wow, I love that. And like, you couldn't be more timely and on point for what is happening in the global economy.
Yes.
And there isn't a week that goes by where I hear of a business change. And, but
Dramatic.
sorry, go for it.
It's very dramatic at the moment.
Oh, it really is. And I kind of hope for those businesses that are changing, whether they're changing form to be not bricks and mortar anymore and going online, or they're actually dissolving that business and moving on to something else. I think there's a reset happening globally, and some of the things we can all see happening, others are just going to happen. And we need to be aware of it and then just focus on our own backyard and go, okay, how do we do what we do the best possible way and continue to optimize it, work with people. Like, you don't have to do it alone. And I
Yes.
think a lot of businesses forget that as well.
Yes.
Invest in your business, invest your time and invest your money, but invest in your team as
Yes.
well. And I think everyone needs to go and read Joe Dispenza books and
Yeah.
get on podcasts.
Yeah.
I don't like books, go onto YouTube. Like, there's content absolutely everywhere.
There is. And what you're saying, doing it alone is one of the reasons. Like, I really believe in small businesses. Small businesses are the seeds or the heart of everything. They're visionary creators who go out and forge something new. And it's really hard work. It's really hard to start a business and run a business, much harder than having a job. And there are every forces. You've got to handle the government, you've got to follow all these regulations, you've got to, as we said, wear many hats. I deeply believe in small businesses and small business founders. And this is where the power of people. Don't do it alone. Don't be like a stool with one leg. Have partners. Surround yourself with partners that have the same vision. You will not just get leads and clients out of it. You will get brains trust, collaboration, insights, emotional support, and just increased joy from having great partnerships.
Yeah,
And I think
absolutely.
that's really important. Like, just what I can learn from you, what you can learn from me is just as important part of the partnership as referring clients to you.
Yeah, absolutely. I love it. So, well, thank you so much for joining us today, Talila. And the gold that you have shared today has been phenomenal. And if anyone would like to talk to Talila or myself about anything that we've gone through today, or you just want a little bit more information about a particular area, you'll see below this recording. You can book a session, and I'm very happy to chat and send you off in the right direction. So thank you so much again, Talila, and I look forward to talking soon. I think there'll be more interviews in the pipeline for sure.
Well, this was a wonderful chat. Thank you so much for having me and the brilliant insights of the questions that you asked.
Welcome. All right. Bye for now.
Bye.